Well, just the gospel, just put it in your back pocket for next year. The seventh Sunday of Easter, that will be our gospel reading. It's the third part of the high priest prayer of Jesus, where he now prays for the church. So the first part in year A is really the proclamation, the prayer of his unity with the Father. And then the second part, which was just this previous Sunday's gospel reading, the middle part, was the prayer for the apostles, the 12, or that is the 11 now, sitting in front of him. And now he prays for all those who believe in his name, okay, which will be year C, next year's seventh Sunday. So I expect you all to remember this for next, actually I think it's a late Easter this year, so it'll probably be in June, I would say, when we get this reading. But back to the Acts of the Apostles, as we're about to put a bow on it. I have to be honest with you, next week when we get into ordinary time, I believe the readings from Sirach, which is just really a book of collection of wisdom sayings. It's I'll do the best I can with it, but I'm not as excited. You know, I always get excited about these books. Not excited about Sirach as I am with other books in the Bible, but we'll give it a go. So we jumped a chapter here. And again, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I'll be really quick with this. We ended Tuesday and Wednesday, chapter 20, which was Paul's farewell address to the leaders in Ephesus, but they were doing it in a town called Miletus, which was 30 miles south, okay, which was, again, a standard, common, biblical thing to do. Moses, Samuel, Joshua, they all had farewell addresses, even Jesus in chapters John 13 to 17, a farewell address saying a bunch of things. But remember that the context of this farewell address is Jesus' journey to Jerusalem. Paul's journey to Jerusalem, but it's something that Jesus also did. Okay, Paul's on his way to Jerusalem, where he believes he's going to suffer martyrdom there. Jesus is on his way to Jerusalem, which he knows he's going to suffer his martyrdom, but also his resurrection. And ironically, chapter 21, which we do not get, okay, we skipped over it. We're at the end of chapter 22 into chapter 23 in today's first reading. But chapter 21, Paul makes 3 stops. Each stop, again, he's heading towards Jerusalem, and each stop, guess what happens? The people that he sees doesn't want him to go to Jerusalem. They don't want him to be martyred in Jerusalem. Sounds familiar, right? Yeah. Jesus 3 times predicts his martyrdom in Matthew, Mark, and Luke's gospel 3 times. And then what happens in all 3 times? People like Peter are like, far be it, Lord, that should ever happen to you. That's exactly what's happening to St. Paul. Okay? As he's meeting these people, including the writer Luke himself. In Caesarea, Luke says, we tried to discourage Paul from doing this, including himself in that. Okay? And then he finally gets to Jerusalem, and James, and they're like, look, you gotta hide, they're coming to get you. Okay? James then even suggests that Paul does some sort of ritual law thing to try to appease these Jews who are upset, who believe that St. Paul is trying to get rid of Moses and get rid of all this stuff, which again was something similar to what was thrown at Jesus. So today, what happens is, in today's first reading, before this happens though, quickly, Paul is kind of beaten up by a mob, okay, down in Jerusalem. He's eventually is arrested, and he's brought before, I believe this is Herod, okay, though we don't get his name in today's first reading. But now he's on trial, just like Jesus, okay? Now I love this story. This is a great story. So Paul is brought to the middle of the Sanhedrin, okay, with the Roman governor kind of sitting in his chair. And St. Paul looks to the left and sees the Pharisees, and looks to the right and sees the Sadducees. And then we can only say compelled by the Holy Spirit. St. Paul says, hey, look, I'm a Pharisee, and I'm on trial for hope of the resurrection of the dead, which is very true. I mean, that's one of the crux of St. Paul's message, right? Jesus Christ died and has risen from the dead. And so he says that as a Pharisee, which he was. Okay, a very prominent Pharisee. I'm on trial for hope of the resurrection of the dead. All of a sudden, the Pharisees and the Sadducees did not believe in the resurrection of the dead. The Pharisees did. They start arguing, causing a big scene and a commotion, so much so that the Roman governor has St. Paul removed from the crowd because he's afraid he's going to get killed. And then at the very last line, for just as you bore witness to my cause in Jerusalem, St. Paul witnessed in Jerusalem, and he was led there by the Holy Spirit this whole journey. However, now here's the twist here. So also you must bear witness in Rome. So just when we think we have God's plan figured out, God says, nah, just go on for the ride. Shut your mouth and don't pretend like you know everything. Okay, I got some better plans. Just looking back on hindsight, it's almost as God's saying, look, you don't need to bear witness in Jerusalem. I took care of that myself. Okay, but since you are continuing my ministry, since you, again, are an extension of the person and power of Jesus Christ, there's somewhere else. I need you to go to the heart of the Gentile world, to Rome. If you want to talk about, Gentile, where's the place to go? You go to Rome. And now you, St. Paul, need to bear witness to me there. And how do we bear witness? The word for that is martyr, okay, martyrdom. What is the witness of what? Of showing God's immense love for the world, that St. Paul is going to offer himself, as a body, as a witness to God's love. This is my body, which is given up for you. St. Paul are offering those words up as well. It doesn't say it explicitly, but that's what he's doing. That's what martyrs do. That's the life of the Christian. Those words, this is my body, which is given up for you, it's for us, but it's also for us to bear and also to give to the world. It's the heart of the priest vocation, and it's also the heart of the marriage vocation as well. You say it to the other so you can bring more life into the world. But that's just it right there, and I need to stop because this is getting long, so I apologize for that. Okay, but we'll wrap this up tomorrow. Okay, God bless you.